The first human ship arrived at the Galactic Council station on a day that nobody would ever forget. Ambassador Kethra of the Velori stood at the observation window and watched the small vessel dock with growing curiosity. The Velori were tall and thin beings with silver skin and 4 arms. They had been part of the galactic community for over 10,000 years, and Kethra thought he had seen every kind of species the galaxy could produce. He was wrong. The airlock opened, and 3 humans walked out. They were shorter than Velori, with only 2 arms and strange soft skin in various shades of brown and pink. They moved with a confidence that seemed out of place for a species making first contact with the galactic community. The lead human was a female named Sarah Chen. She wore a simple uniform and carried herself like someone who had faced danger many times and won. "Welcome to Galactic Station Prime," said Kethra, extending 2 of his 4 hands in the traditional greeting. "I am Ambassador Kethra of the Velori. We are honored to meet the representatives of humanity." Sarah Chen smiled and shook one of his hands. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Thank you, Ambassador. We are happy to be here. Earth has been watching the stars for a long time. It is good to finally meet our neighbors." Kethra led the humans through the station toward the council chamber. Along the way, they passed members of many different species. The Brackari were large and covered in thick scales. The Minth were small and quick, with 8 legs and compound eyes. The Gordani floated through the air using gas bladders built into their bodies. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. "Your species is quite unusual," Kethra said carefully. "Our scanners have already analyzed your homeworld. The gravity is high, the atmosphere contains a dangerous level of oxygen, and your planet experiences extreme weather events, volcanic activity, and seismic disturbances." "Earth is home," Sarah said simply. "It made us who we are." "Indeed," Kethra said. "We have a term for planets like yours. We call them Deathworlds. Species from such planets are rare because most do not survive long enough to develop technology. Yet here you are." They arrived at the council chamber. It was a massive room with seats for representatives of over 300 species. At the center was a platform where new species were presented to the council. Kethra guided the humans to this platform and then took his own seat. The high speaker of the council was a Gordani named Vethum. His translator device converted his bubbling speech into words the humans could understand. "Representatives of humanity, you stand before the Galactic Council. We have studied your world and your history. We have watched your progress from primitive creatures to spacefaring beings. Now we must decide if you will be allowed to join our community." Sarah Chen nodded. "We understand. What would you like to know about us?" "First, you must understand the nature of our galaxy," Vethum said. "For over 20,000 years, the Galactic Council has maintained peace among member species. We have rules that all must follow. We have avoided major conflict through diplomacy and cooperation. This is the way of civilized beings." "We appreciate that," Sarah said. "Earth has also learned the value of peace. We have had our share of conflicts, but we have always found our way back to cooperation." There was murmuring among the council members. A Brackari representative stood up. His name was Commander Grath, and he was the leader of the council's military forces. "I have studied your history in detail. You speak of peace, but your records show constant warfare. Your species has killed more of its own kind than all the wars in our recorded galactic history combined." Sarah did not look away from his hard stare. "That is true. We have made many mistakes, but we have also learned from them. Each generation has worked to be better than the last. That is how we survived our Deathworld. We adapt, we learn, we grow." "Pretty words," said another voice. This came from a species that the humans had not seen before. He was tall and elegant, with pure white skin and cold blue eyes. His robes were made of material that seemed to shimmer with inner light. "But words mean nothing. I am High Lord Vexarin of the Dominion of Purity. We have observed humanity for some time now." The council chamber became very quiet. Kethra felt a chill run down his spine. The Dominion of Purity was not a member of the Galactic Council. They were a powerful empire that existed on the edge of known space. They rarely attended council meetings, and when they did, it usually meant trouble. "We have watched you crawl out of your violent little world," Vexarin continued. "We have seen your nature. You are predators dressed in the clothes of civilization. You eat the flesh of other creatures. You celebrate violence in your art and entertainment. You modify your own bodies with machines. You are an abomination." Sarah Chen's expression did not change. "With respect, High Lord, we are what our world made us. We had to eat meat to get enough protein to develop our brains. We had to fight to survive predators and natural disasters. And yes, we use technology to improve ourselves because we believe in always getting better. Is that so wrong?" "It is wrong because you are wrong," Vexarin said. "The Dominion of Purity has spent 10,000 years cleansing the galaxy of Deathworld species. You are aggressive, unpredictable, and dangerous. You should be eliminated before you spread your corruption to others." There were gasps from many council members. Such direct threats were forbidden in the council chamber, but Vexarin seemed to care nothing for their rules. "The Dominion hereby declares humanity to be a threat to galactic peace," he announced. "We will give you 1 standard year to return to your world and remain there. If you leave your solar system after that time, we will consider it an act of war." Sarah Chen stepped forward. Her voice was calm but firm. "The Dominion does not speak for the Galactic Council, and Earth does not take orders from anyone." Vexarin smiled coldly. "Then you have chosen your fate, human. The Dominion has destroyed species far older and more powerful than yours. You are nothing to us." He turned and walked out of the chamber, his guards following behind him. The council erupted in chaos, with representatives shouting and arguing. Some demanded action against the Dominion. Others said the humans should leave for the sake of peace. A few quietly agreed with Vexarin's words. Kethra approached Sarah Chen as the chamber continued to argue. "I am sorry you had to experience that on your first visit. The Dominion is a powerful force, but they have never directly challenged the Council before." "Why now?" Sarah asked. "Why would they care about us?" Kethra was quiet for a moment. "I do not know for certain, but there are rumors. The Dominion claims to seek purity, but in truth they seek power. They have been growing stronger for centuries, slowly absorbing smaller empires on the edge of our space. Perhaps they see your arrival as an excuse to finally challenge the Council itself." Sarah looked at the chaos around her. Species of every shape and size were arguing about the future of her world, about whether her people deserved to exist. It was not the welcome she had hoped for, but Sarah Chen was from a death world. She had faced worse. "Then I guess we have work to do," she said. The news of the Dominion's threat spread quickly across the galaxy. On every world with access to the communication networks, beings watched recordings of the confrontation. They saw the tall white figure of Vexarin declare humanity an abomination. They saw the small human female stand her ground without fear. Opinions were divided. Many species had never met a Deathworlder before. The idea of a world so dangerous that simply living there required constant struggle was hard for them to understand. They lived on gentle worlds with mild climates and abundant food. The thought of eating flesh or fighting for survival was barbaric to them. But other species watched with different eyes. The Kratha were a reptilian race from a desert world. Their planet was not classified as a death world, but it was harsh enough that they understood what it meant to struggle. Their ambassador, a scarred old warrior named Sketh, watched the recording 3 times. "These humans," he said to his aide, "they remind me of the old stories, the ones about our ancestors who had to fight every day just to see the next sunrise." "The Dominion will destroy them," his aide said. "They are just one small world against an empire of hundreds." Sketh bared his teeth in what passed for a Kratha smile. "Perhaps, but I would not want to be the one who has to try. On Earth, the reaction to the Dominion's threat was not what anyone expected. Instead of fear, there was anger. Instead of despair, there was determination. Humanity had spent its entire history being told that it could not survive, could not succeed, could not reach the stars. Every time, they had proven the doubters wrong. The United Earth government held an emergency meeting. Leaders from every nation gathered to discuss what to do. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to hide. But the majority agreed with the words of President Maria Santos. We did not crawl out of the mud, survive ice ages, plagues, and world wars, build cities, split the atom, and reach the stars just to bow down to the first bully we met in the cosmos. If the Dominion wants a fight, they will get more than they bargained for. The message was broadcast to the galaxy. It was a simple statement of defiance, but it echoed across the stars. Back on Galactic Station Prime, Ambassador Kethra was meeting with Sarah Chen and the other human delegates. They had been given temporary quarters while the council debated what to do. The council is divided, Kethra explained. Many members are afraid of the Dominion. They have never been directly threatened before, and they do not know how to respond. What about the council's military forces? Sarah asked. We saw Commander Grath. He seemed like a capable warrior. Kethra hesitated. The council has peacekeeping forces, yes, but they have not fought a real war in over 5,000 years. The Dominion, on the other hand, has been fighting and conquering for 10,000 years. Their fleet is vast. Their soldiers are fanatical. Many in the council believe that resistance is impossible. Nothing is impossible, said the second human delegate. His name was Marcus Wright, and he was a former military officer. In our history, we have seen small forces defeat larger ones many times. It requires strategy, determination, and a willingness to do whatever it takes. That is exactly what the Dominion fears about you, Kethra said. I have been studying your history since your arrival. Your species has an unusual trait. When faced with impossible odds, you do not simply give up. You fight harder. We call it stubbornness, Sarah said with a slight smile. Our parents often complained about it. It is more than stubbornness, Kethra said. It is a survival mechanism. Your Deathworld selected for beings who refuse to surrender, who adapt to any challenge, who find ways to win when winning should be impossible. The Dominion has destroyed many species, but they have never faced one like yours. Marcus leaned forward. Ambassador, what do you know about the species the Dominion has destroyed? Were any of them Deathworlders? Kethra's silver face became troubled. That is a very interesting question. I have looked at the records, and the answer is strange. The Dominion claims to have cleansed many Deathworld species, but the records show something different. Every Deathworld species they encountered either escaped to unknown space or was absorbed into the Dominion itself. Absorbed, Sarah asked. What does that mean? The Dominion soldiers are not all of their own species, Kethra explained. They have conscript armies made up of conquered peoples. The most feared of these are the Hollow. They were once a Deathworld species called the Varath. Now they serve the Dominion as shock troops. They are dangerous, violent, and completely loyal to Vexarin. So the Dominion doesn't destroy Deathworlders, Marcus said slowly. They enslave them and use them as weapons. It appears so. Perhaps they recognize that Deathworld species are too valuable to waste, or perhaps they fear that truly destroying such species is harder than they admit. Sarah stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly in all directions. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was preparing for war, and somewhere on the edge of known space, there might be other Deathworld species who had escaped rather than submit. We need to find them, she said. The species that escaped. If they hate the Dominion as much as we do, maybe we can work together. That would be extremely dangerous, Kethra warned. The regions beyond Dominion space are uncharted. No one who has gone searching for the escaped species has ever returned. Sarah turned to face him. Ambassador, my species walked out of Africa with nothing but stone tools. We crossed oceans in wooden boats. We survived 1,000 disasters that should have killed us all. Dangerous is what we do. Kethra looked at her for a long moment. Then he made a decision that would change the fate of the galaxy. I will help you, he said. The Velori have been part of the Galactic Council for 10,000 years, but in all that time we have never truly been free. The Dominion has always been there, watching, waiting. My people live in quiet fear, hoping that we will never draw their attention. I am tired of fear. If humanity is willing to stand against the Dominion, then the Velori will stand with you. Sarah extended her hand. Kethra took it with two of his own. It was the beginning of an alliance that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. In the following weeks, things moved quickly. The Galactic Council remained paralyzed by debate, but individual species began making their own choices. The Krathas sent a message to Earth offering friendship. The Minth, despite their small size, volunteered their expertise in stealth technology. Even some of the Brakari, whose culture valued strength and courage, expressed quiet admiration for humanity's refusal to back down. The Dominion watched these developments with growing anger. Vexarin had expected humanity to cower. Instead, they were building alliances. It was unacceptable. Send a message to Earth, he ordered. Remind them what happens to species that defy us. A Dominion warship appeared in the outer reaches of Earth's solar system. It was massive, larger than any human vessel. It hung in space like a predator sizing up its prey. Then it launched a single projectile at an uninhabited moon of Neptune. The moon cracked like an egg. Fragments of rock spread across the void. It was a demonstration of power, a warning of what was to come. On Earth, people watched the destruction on their screens. For a moment, fear spread across the planet. The Dominion was powerful beyond anything they had imagined. Then President Santos appeared on every screen. Behind her were the flags of every nation on Earth. Today, the Dominion destroyed a moon to frighten us, she said. They want us to see their power and lose hope, but they have made a mistake. They have shown us that they are afraid. They are afraid because they know that humanity does not break. We bend, we adapt, we survive, and then we rise. The speech went out to the galaxy. On hundreds of worlds, beings watched a human leader stand before the wreckage of a moon and promise defiance. Some called it madness, others called it courage, but everyone was watching. The war for the galaxy had begun. The human exploration vessel Starlight traveled through regions of space that no council species had visited in thousands of years. On board were Sarah Chen, Marcus Wright, and a crew of 50 from various species who had volunteered for the mission. Ambassador Kethra had used his influence to secure the ship and the supplies. The goal was simple but dangerous. They were searching for the Deathworld species who had escaped the Dominion. The ship's pilot was a Minth named Zikri. Her 8 legs moved constantly over the control surfaces as she guided them through an asteroid field. Scanners show energy signatures ahead, she reported. Someone is living in this system. Friend or enemy? Marcus asked from his station. Unknown, but the energy pattern does not match any Dominion technology I have seen. Sarah made the decision. Take us in carefully. The Starlight approached a large asteroid that had been hollowed out and converted into a station. As they got closer, they saw that the surface was covered with weapons. Whoever lived here expected trouble. We are being hailed, Zikri reported. Put it through. The view screen flickered to life, showing a face that made several crew members gasp. It was covered in thick fur, with a wide mouth full of sharp teeth and eyes that gleamed with intelligence and suspicion. The translator took a moment to analyze the language, then began converting. Unknown vessel, you have entered the territory of the free clans. Identify yourselves or be destroyed. Sarah stepped forward. I am Sarah Chen, representative of humanity from the planet Earth. We come in peace, seeking allies against the dominion of purity." There was a long silence. The being on the screen studied her with those gleaming eyes. Finally, it spoke again. "You are from a Deathworld." "Yes." "And you oppose the Dominion." "They have threatened to destroy my species. We will not allow that." Another silence. Then the being made a sound that the translator could not quite handle. It might have been a laugh. "Come aboard, human. I am Chief Rannoch of the Gorven. We have much to discuss." The Gorven were refugees. Their homeworld had been a deathworld like Earth, covered in dense forests filled with predators. They had developed as pack hunters, working together to bring down prey many times their size. When the Dominion came for them 3,000 years ago, they had refused to submit. Instead, they had loaded their population onto a fleet of ships and fled into uncharted space. "We have been hiding here ever since," Chief Rannoch explained as he led the visitors through the asteroid station. "The Dominion hunted us for centuries, but we learned to stay quiet, to stay hidden. Eventually, they stopped looking." "How many of your people survived?" Sarah asked. 40,000 when we fled. Now we number over 2 million, spread across a dozen hidden colonies. We have rebuilt as much as we could, but we live in fear, always waiting for the day the Dominion finds us." They entered a large chamber that served as a meeting hall. Other Gorven were already gathered there, watching the visitors with curiosity and suspicion. Sarah noticed that many of them bore scars. These were not soft beings who had lived easy lives. "You say you oppose the Dominion," said an elderly Gorven female. "Many have said that before. They all failed." "We are different," Sarah said. "We come from a death world like yours. We know what it means to fight against impossible odds, and we are not alone. Other species in the Galactic Council are beginning to wake up. They are tired of living in fear." "The Council," Chief Rannoch said with contempt. "We went to them for help when the Dominion came. They offered us sympathy and nothing more. They were afraid." "They are still afraid," Kethra said, stepping forward. "I am Ambassador Kethra of the Velori. I know the Council's failures better than anyone, but humans have shown me that fear is a choice. We can choose to be brave instead." The elderly female studied him. "A Velori who is not afraid, that is new. Perhaps times are changing." "They are," Sarah said. "The Dominion made a mistake when they threatened us. They woke up something they did not expect. Humanity does not know how to give up, and we will not rest until the Dominion is broken." Chief Rannoch bared his teeth in a grin. "I have been waiting 3,000 years to hear those words. Tell me about your plan, human." The strategy was complex but built on simple principles. The Dominion was powerful, but they had weaknesses. They relied on fear to maintain control. Many of their subject species served only because they believed resistance was impossible. If that belief could be shattered, the Dominion's empire would begin to crack. "We need to show the galaxy that the Dominion can be beaten," Marcus explained, using a holographic display to illustrate his points. "Small victories at first, hit-and-run attacks on their supply lines, liberation of prisoners. Each success will encourage others to resist." "Guerrilla warfare," Chief Rannoch said approvingly. "We know this strategy well. It is how we survived the hunters on our homeworld." "But we need more than just the Gorven and the humans," Sarah added. "Are there other species in hiding, other Deathworlders who escaped the Dominion?" Rannoch nodded slowly. "There are rumors. The Hollow were once the Varath, as you know, but before they were completely enslaved, some of them escaped. They are said to live in the dark spaces between stars. No one has ever found them." "Then we will be the first," Sarah said. The search for the escaped Varath became a priority. The Starlight traveled deeper into unknown space, guided by fragments of old stories and faint energy traces. The crew faced many dangers. They avoided Dominion patrols, navigated through radiation storms, and once barely escaped a creature that seemed to live in the void itself. But humanity was good at surviving, and they were getting better at inspiring others. Along the way, they found more refugees. The Tharn were insected beings from a world of endless volcanic activity. The Kesh were amphibious hunters who had lived in the crushing depths of an ocean world. Each species had fled the Dominion rather than submit. Each had been hiding, waiting, hopping. "We were starting to forget why we ran," said the Tharn Queen when Sarah met with her. "Another few generations and our children would have lost the fire. You have reminded us of who we are." The alliance grew. It was not yet an army, but it was becoming a movement. Species that had hidden in fear for millennia were beginning to believe that change was possible. Then they found the Vareth. It happened by accident. The starlight was passing through a region of space so dark that no stars were visible. The sensors detected nothing, but Zikri's instincts told her something was wrong. "We are not alone," she said quietly. "Something is watching us." Before anyone could respond, the ship was surrounded. Vessels seemed to appear from nowhere, dark and angular, bristling with weapons. They were unlike anything in the Council's database. "Unknown vessel," a voice said over the communications system. "You have entered the territory of the Free Varath. Explain why we should not destroy you." Sarah took a breath. "Because we share a common enemy, and because we have come to offer you a chance at revenge." There was a long pause, then the voice spoke again. "Revenge, yes, we know that word very well. Come aboard, Deathworlder. Let us see if you are worthy." The Varath were terrifying. They were tall and gaunt, with pale skin and eyes that seemed to glow with inner fire. Their bodies were covered with implants and modifications, technology fused with flesh in ways that seemed almost organic. When they moved, it was with a predator's grace. Their leader was called the Voice. No one used personal names among the Free Varath. Names had been taken from them by the Dominion, and they refused to take them back until their people were free. "We were the first species the Dominion enslaved," the Voice explained. "They took us from our world and broke us. They turned us into weapons, but some of us remembered who we were. Some of us escaped." "The Hollow," Sarah said. "Your people who still serve the Dominion." "Our brothers and sisters in chains," the Voice confirmed. "They do not fight for the Dominion by choice. The Dominion uses technology to control their minds. They are puppets, nothing more." "Is there a way to free them?" The Voice's glowing eyes fixed on Sarah. "There is. The control signals come from a central facility deep in Dominion space. If that facility were destroyed, every hollow in the Empire would wake up. They would remember who they are, and they would be very, very angry." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. It was not fear, it was excitement. "How many hollow are there?" "Millions. They make up the core of the Dominion's military. Without them, the Empire would be vulnerable." "Then that is our target," Sarah said. "We destroy the control facility and turn the Dominion's greatest weapon against them." The Voice studied her for a long moment. Then it made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are bold, human, perhaps too bold. The facility is heavily defended. Many have tried to destroy it. All have failed." "Then we will have to try harder," Sarah said simply. The Voice tilted its head. "Yes, I believe you will. The Free Varath will join your alliance. We have been waiting for someone crazy enough to try what you are suggesting. It seems we have finally found them." Sarah smiled. "Welcome to the Resistance." The alliance gathered in a hidden base deep in uncharted space. Representatives from every Deathworld species sat together in a single chamber for the first time in galactic history. Humans, Gorvan, Varath, Tharn, Kesh, and others who had found their way to the cause. It was a strange group, but there was a feeling of shared purpose that united them. Ambassador Kethra stood with Sarah at the front of the room. He had risked everything to help build this alliance. The Velori Council had declared him a traitor, but many individual Velori had quietly offered their support. "This is more than I ever imagined," Kethra said quietly. "When I first met you, I thought humanity would be destroyed within a year. Instead, you have united the scattered survivors of 100 genocides." "We had help," Sarah said. "From you, from everyone here. Humans did not do this alone." "But you started it. You showed us that it was possible to stand up. That is what Deathworlders do. You survive the impossible, and then you make others believe they can do it too." Marcus approached with a datapad. "The scouts have returned. We have the latest intelligence on the control facility." The facility was located on a moon orbiting the Dominion's capital world. It was protected by multiple layers of defense, orbital platforms, ground-based weapons, constant patrols, and at its heart, the technology that kept millions of Hollow enslaved. "We cannot attack it directly," Marcus said. "Any fleet we sent would be destroyed before it got close." "Then we do not send a fleet," said Chief Rannoch. "We send a small team, infiltration, not invasion." "The Dominion security is extremely tight," the voice warned. "They know we want to destroy the facility. They have prepared for every scenario." Sarah studied the holographic map of the facility. Her mind was working on the problem, looking for angles that others might have missed. "Not every scenario," she said finally. "They have prepared for attacks from outside, but what about from inside?" "Explain," the voice said. "The Hollow are inside the facility. Millions of them pass through for maintenance and upgrades. What if we could get our people in the same way?" There was silence in the room. Then the voice spoke slowly. "You are suggesting that we disguise ourselves as Hollow, that we walk into the heart of the Dominion as prisoners." "I am suggesting that I do it," Sarah said. "With a small team, we let ourselves be captured, we get taken to the facility, and once we are inside, we destroy it." "That is suicide," Kethra said, his voice sharp with concern. "Maybe, or maybe it is the one plan they will never expect. The Dominion believes that Deathworlders are dangerous precisely because we are impossible to control. They would never imagine that we would willingly walk into their trap." Chief Rannoch laughed a harsh sound. "I like this human. She thinks like a Gorven." The voice was quiet for a long moment. Then it nodded. "It could work. The facility's security focuses on keeping people out, not on scrutinizing every Hollow that comes in. If we can forge the right identification codes, you might actually reach the control center." "And once there," Marcus asked. Sarah smiled. "We improvise, it is what we do best." The plan was refined over the following days. A small team would allow themselves to be captured by Dominion forces. They would be implanted with fake control devices that mimicked the technology used on the Hollow. To the Dominion scanners, they would appear to be properly enslaved. Once inside the facility, they would find the control center and destroy it. The voice provided detailed information about the facility's layout, gathered from the memories of Varath who had been there before escaping. The team was selected carefully. Sarah would lead. Marcus would handle the explosives. The voice would send 2 Varath agents who knew the facility's systems, and Zikri volunteered despite her small size, arguing that her Minth abilities in stealth and hacking would be essential. "This is really happening," Sarah said to Kethra the night before the mission. "Everything we have worked for comes down to this." "You could still choose another way," Kethra said. "Lead the Alliance from safety. Let others take the risk." Sarah shook her head. "That is not who I am. That is not who any of us are. We are from Deathworlds. We do not ask others to face dangers we will not face ourselves." Kethra was silent for a moment. Then he extended all 4 of his hands and gripped hers. "Then go, free the Hollow, break the Dominion, and come back alive. The galaxy will need you when this is over." "I will do my best," Sarah said. "And Kethra, whatever happens, thank you for believing in us when no one else did." "It was easy to believe," he said. "You made it easy." The team departed the next morning. They took a small ship, unarmed and unshielded, designed to look like a fleeing refugee vessel. It did not take long for a Dominion patrol to find them. "Unknown vessel, power down your engines and prepare to be boarded," a harsh voice commanded. "Understood," Sarah replied. "We surrender." Dominion soldiers swarmed aboard within minutes. They were brutal and efficient, restraining the team and scanning them for weapons. The fake control implants passed inspection without raising any alarms. "These are Deathworlders," the patrol commander said with disgust. "Take them to the processing facility. They will make excellent hollow." Sarah allowed herself to be dragged away. Behind her mask of submission, she was counting every step, noting every detail. The plan was in motion. They were taken to the moon and brought to the facility. It was a massive complex, all cold metal and harsh lighting. Thousands of hollow moved through the corridors in eerie silence, their eyes vacant and their movements mechanical. The team was processed and tagged, then sent to a holding area to await their turn for full conversion. This was the most dangerous part of the plan. They had only a few hours before the real conversion process would begin. "We move now," Sarah whispered when the guards were out of earshot. They had prepared for this moment. Zikri's hacking skills disabled the locks on their restraints. The Vareth agents knew the facility's layout and led the way through maintenance tunnels that did not appear on official maps. It took 2 hours to reach the control center. They encountered guards twice but dealt with them silently. By the time they reached their destination, alarms were beginning to sound. Someone had discovered the missing prisoners. "No time for subtlety," Marcus said, pulling out the explosives. "We set the charges and run." "No," Sarah said. "You set the charges. I need to find the broadcast system." "What broadcast system?" "The one that tells every hollow in the galaxy that they are free." Sarah ran while the others worked. She found the communications room and forced her way in. The equipment was complex, but its function was simple. It was designed to send commands to every hollow in existence. She activated the system and spoke. "To all who are listening, to all who have forgotten who they are, my name is Sarah Chen and I am from Earth. Today the chains that bind you are being broken. Today you are free. Remember who you are. Remember what was taken from you. And rise." She did not know if the message would work. She did not know if the hollow would hear it or understand, but she knew she had to try. The explosions came a moment later. The facility shook as Marcus's charges detonated. Sarah felt the floor tilt beneath her and grabbed a console for support. Then the screaming began. It came from everywhere. Millions of voices crying out in confusion and rage as the control signals died and the hollow woke up. Sarah saw them in the corridors, staggering and clutching their heads as memories flooded back. Vareth, who had been slaves for generations, suddenly remembered freedom. And they remembered who had taken it from them. The facility descended into chaos. Hollow turned on their Dominion masters with savage fury. Guards who had brutalized them for years died in moments. The team made their way through the carnage, moving toward the landing bays where ships waited. "The facility is going to collapse," Zikri warned as another explosion rocked the structure. "We need to leave now." They commandeered a shuttle and blasted off just as the facility tore itself apart. Behind them, the moon's surface was covered with fleeing ships as awakened hollow escaped in every direction. "Did it work?" Marcus asked as they cleared the atmosphere. Sarah looked at the chaos below. Dominion warships were arriving, but they did not know what to do. Their soldiers were turning against them. Their greatest weapon had become their worst enemy. "Yes," she said, "it worked." Across the galaxy, the Dominion's empire began to burn. The months that followed were a time of transformation. The awakened hollow became the core of a new resistance army. Millions of them joined the alliance, bringing with them intimate knowledge of Dominion tactics and weaknesses. The empire that had dominated the galaxy for 10,000 years found itself fighting a war on 100 fronts. The Galactic Council, finally shaken from its paralysis, voted to support the alliance. Species that had spent millennia avoiding conflict now contributed ships, resources, and soldiers. Even Commander Grath, who had once questioned humanity's violent nature, led his forces into battle against the Dominion. The war was not easy. The Dominion was still powerful, and they fought with the desperation of those who knew their end was coming. Billions died on both sides. Worlds were destroyed. The cost was terrible. But the alliance held. United by their shared experience of oppression and their common hope for freedom, the species of the galaxy fought together as they never had before. Sarah Chen became a symbol of the resistance, the human who had walked into the heart of the enemy and set millions free. She tried to deflect the attention, to share credit with everyone who had helped, but the galaxy needed heroes, and she had become one whether she wanted to or not. Ambassador Kethra worked alongside her, coordinating the political aspects of the alliance while she focused on military strategy. Their partnership had become legendary. The idealistic Velori and the stubborn human who had changed everything. "We are winning," Kethra said one day as they reviewed battle reports. "The Dominion is losing ground faster than our projections suggested." "There is still a long way to go," Sarah said. "Vexarin controls the core systems. He will not surrender without a fight." "No, but for the first time I believe we will prevail. A year ago I would have said that was impossible. Now it seems inevitable." "Nothing is inevitable," Sarah said. "We make our own fate." The final battle came 6 months later. The Allied fleet assembled in a system near the Dominion's capital. It was the largest military force ever gathered in galactic history. Ships from 100 species, Deathworlders and Council members alike, united for one purpose. High Lord Vexarin commanded the Dominion's remaining forces personally. He had withdrawn his best ships to defend the capital. It was all or nothing for both sides. "Vexarin is hailing us," the communications officer reported. "Put him through," Sarah said. The High Lord appeared on the viewscreen. He looked older than he had at their first meeting. The weight of defeat was visible on his face. "Human," he said, "you have caused more damage to the Dominion than any species in our history. You have turned our own soldiers against us. You have united our enemies into an unstoppable force. And you have done it in less than 2 standard years." "Thank you," Sarah said. "We work quickly." "I offer you one chance," Vexarin continued. "Withdraw your fleet. Leave the Dominion in peace. In return, we will not pursue your alliance. We will retreat to our core systems and trouble you no more." Sarah considered the offer. Part of her wanted to accept. The war could end today. Billions of lives could be saved. But she thought about the species the Dominion had destroyed. The Varath who had been enslaved for millennia. The Gorvan hiding in asteroids for 3,000 years. All the worlds that had been purged in the name of purity. "No," she said. "You would reject peace. I would reject a peace that leaves you free to rebuild, free to enslave again. The Dominion has committed crimes against the entire galaxy. Today, you answer for them." Vexarin's face twisted with hatred. "Then you will die with the rest. All ships attack." The battle was the most intense in galactic history. Ships clashed across the system. Energy weapons lit up the void. Soldiers fought and died in numbers too large to count. The Alliance held. Despite the Dominion's superior technology, despite their fanatical resistance, they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. The awakened Hollow fought with particular fury, determined to end the power that had enslaved them. In the end, Vexarin's flagship was surrounded. The High Lord refused to surrender. He activated the ship's self-destruct rather than be captured. "This is not over," he broadcast in his final message. "The Dominion is eternal. Purity will rise again." Then his ship exploded, and the war was over. The galaxy changed in the years that followed. The Dominion was dissolved, its remaining species integrated into the Galactic Council as equal members. The Council itself was reformed, with new structures designed to prevent any single power from dominating others. Deathworld species were no longer seen as aberrations to be feared or eliminated. They were recognized for what they had always been: survivors, fighters, beings who faced impossible odds and refused to give up. Sarah Chen retired from public life after the war. She returned to Earth, to a small farm in the mountains where she had grown up, but she never lost contact with the friends she had made. Kethra visited often. Chief Rannoch sent messages full of crude jokes and sincere gratitude. Even the voice, who had taken the name Kira after the Vareth were freed, came to share a meal and memories. One day, Sarah was sitting on her porch watching the sunset when a young human child approached. She was the daughter of neighbors, curious and bold in the way of children everywhere. "Is it true?" the girl asked. "Did you really go to space and fight aliens?" Sarah smiled. "I went to space and made friends with aliens. Some of them happened to fight alongside me." "My teacher says you saved the galaxy." "A lot of people saved the galaxy. I was just one of them." The girl considered this. "When I grow up, I want to go to space too." "Then you will," Sarah said. "That is what we do. We dream of things that seem impossible and then we make them real." The girl ran off to play, leaving Sarah alone with the sunset. She thought about everything that had happened: the fear and the hope, the losses and the victories, the moment when a small human ship had arrived at a galactic station and changed everything. "We are from a death world," she thought. "We were made by struggle, shaped by challenge. We do not know how to give up." And that, in the end, was why they had won. Above her, the stars came out one by one. They looked different now, not distant and unreachable, but familiar and full of friends. The galaxy was united, not perfect, never that, but better than it had been. It was enough. Sarah Chen smiled, closed her eyes, and let herself rest. The universe was in good hands.